Trust me, you're going to want to be part of this conversation. The audience at the Ed Sullivan Theater was buzzing with anticipation. Tom Hardy was scheduled to promote his latest film, a gritty crime drama that had been getting awards buzz for months. The crowd was packed with fans who'd waited hours for tickets, eager to see the British actor who'd captivated audiences in everything from Mad Max to The Dark Knight Rises. The stage was set, the cameras were ready, and Stephen Colbert sat behind his desk with that signature smile plastered across his face. Tom walked out to thunderous applause, waving to the crowd with that humble demeanor he's known for. He settled into the guest chair, and for the first few moments, everything seemed normal. "Tom Hardy, welcome to the show," Stephen said, his voice carrying that practiced warmth that had made him a household name. "Thanks for having me, mate," Tom replied, his accent thick and authentic. "So, you've got this new film out," Stephen began, leaning back in his chair. "But before we get into that, I wanted to ask you about something. There's been some talk about your political views, or rather, your lack of political views. You seem to avoid talking about politics entirely. In this climate, don't you think that's a bit, I don't know, irresponsible?" The question landed like a brick through a window. Tom's expression shifted, just slightly, a flicker of confusion crossing his face. "Well, Stephen, I'm an actor," Tom said, measuring his words carefully. "I tell stories. I don't think it's my place to tell people what to think politically. I respect that everyone has their own views." Sure, Stephen said, nodding but in a way that suggested he didn't actually agree at all. "But you have a platform, Tom. Millions of people watch your films. Don't you think you have a responsibility to use that platform to speak out about important issues? Or are you just comfortable staying in your comfortable bubble?" There was an edge to that last part, a subtle accusation wrapped in the guise of a question. The audience, which had been warm and welcoming moments before, grew quieter. Tom shifted in his seat. "I don't think having political opinions makes someone better or worse. I think what matters is the work you do and how you treat people. I support various charities. I work with organizations that help veterans and the homeless. But I don't feel the need to broadcast my political leanings to validate that work." "Interesting," Stephen said, and the way he said it made it clear he found it anything but interesting. "So, you're taking the safe route. The commercial route. Don't want to alienate any potential ticket buyers, is that it?" "That's not what I said," Tom replied, his voice still controlled but with a harder edge now. "I'm saying I don't think actors need to be political pundits. That's not our job." Right, just entertain us, don't make us think," Stephen said with a laugh that didn't reach his eyes. "Although your new film is pretty violent. Lots of guns, lots of blood. Don't you worry that putting that kind of content out there, especially right now with everything going on, might be sending the wrong message?" Tom's jaw tightened. "It's a film, Stephen. It's fiction. It's a story about the consequences of violence, not a celebration of it. If you'd actually watched it with any attention, you'd understand that the entire point is showing how violence destroys lives." "I did watch it," Stephen shot back, his smile fading. "And what I saw was 2 hours of gratuitous action that could easily be seen as glorifying the very thing you claim to be criticizing. But hey, it looks cool, right? That's what matters." "Now hold on," Tom said, leaning forward. "You're completely missing the point of the film. The protagonist loses everything because of his choices. His family, his morals, his soul. The violence isn't there for entertainment, it's there to show the horror of that lifestyle." "Sure, but it's shot beautifully, isn't it?" Stephen pressed. "All those slow-motion sequences, the stylized cinematography. Come on, Tom. You can't tell me that's not designed to look appealing. Art can be beautiful and tragic at the same time," Tom countered, his patience clearly wearing thin. "Just because something is well-crafted doesn't mean it's endorsing what it's depicting. That's filmmaking 101, mate." "Mate," Stephen repeated, mimicking Tom's accent in a way that came across as mocking. "Love the British thing, by the way. Very charming. Tell me, do you ever get tired of playing the tough guy? The brooding, violent, masculine archetype? Ever think about playing something, I don't know, more evolved?" The audience was dead silent now. This wasn't banter anymore. "I've played all kinds of roles," Tom said, his voice low and measured. I've played vulnerable characters, complex characters, characters struggling with identity and emotion. But I'm guessing you didn't do your research on that. Oh, I did my research, Stephen said, picking up a stack of cards from his desk. I've got quite a bit here, actually. You've walked out of interviews before, haven't you? There's a pattern of you getting defensive when journalists ask you tough questions. Is that what's happening here? Am I asking questions that are too tough for you? Tom stared at him for a long moment. What exactly is this, Stephen? I came here to talk about a film, to have a conversation. This feels like an interrogation. What's your angle here? Whew. My angle? Stephen said, feigning innocence. I don't have an angle, Tom. I'm just asking questions. Isn't that what journalists do? Or do you only like it when people throw you softballs and tell you how great you are? There's a difference between asking challenging questions and being deliberately antagonistic, Tom replied. You're not interested in a conversation. You're interested in creating a moment. You want me to lose my temper so you can get your viral clip. Wow, that's quite an accusation, Stephen said, looking at the audience with exaggerated shock. Did everyone hear that? I'm accused of trying to create content for my television show. Guilty as charged, I suppose. The audience laughed, but it was an uncomfortable laugh. You're twisting what I'm saying? Tom said, his voice rising slightly. I'm saying you're being disrespectful. You invited me here, and instead of having an actual discussion, you're trying to bait me. Bait you? Stephen leaned forward, his expression hardening. Tom, you're a big boy. You can handle a few questions. Or maybe you can't. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe behind all that tough guy persona, you're actually quite fragile. Fragile, Tom repeated, shaking his head. You don't know anything about me. I know you don't like being challenged, Stephen said. I know you walk out when things get uncomfortable. I know you hide behind this working class, everyman image while living in mansions and making millions. That's enough, Tom said, standing up from his chair. I'm not doing this. Oh, here we go, Stephen said, gesturing to the audience. Right on schedule. The walkout. How very authentic of you, Tom. You're a bully, Tom said, pointing at him. You sit behind this desk with your audience and your writers and your power, and you use it to belittle your guests. This isn't journalism, this isn't comedy, this is just cruelty dressed up as entertainment. Sit down, Tom, Stephen said, his voice cold now. You're embarrassing yourself. No, you're embarrassing yourself. Tom fired back. What happened to you, Stephen? You used to actually care about the craft. Now you're just another hack trying to score points with your audience by tearing people down. The audience gasped. Get him out of here, Stephen said to someone off stage. We're done. Get him out. Security appeared from the wings, but Tom held up his hands. Don't worry, I'm leaving, he said. But let me tell you something, everyone watching at home. This is what happens when you don't play their game. When you don't bow down and kiss the ring. They turn on you. They try to humiliate you. You need to leave now, Stephen said, standing up from behind his desk. This is my show, and I'm telling you to get out. Gladly, Tom said, ripping off his microphone and tossing it onto the chair. Tom started walking off the stage, but Stephen wasn't done. At least I'm not a coward, Stephen called out, his voice echoing through the theater. Tom stopped in his tracks. He turned slowly, and the look on his face made everyone in that audience hold their breath. What did you just say? Tom asked, his voice dangerously quiet. You heard me, Stephen said, walking around from behind his desk now. You talk about authenticity, about being real. But the moment someone challenges you, the moment someone doesn't worship at the altar of Tom Hardy, you run. That's cowardice. Tom walked back toward the stage, and you could feel the tension radiating off him. You want to call me a coward? Me? You sit here in your safe little studio, surrounded by people who agree with everything you say, and you have the audacity to question my courage? I'm not the one running away, Stephen said, crossing his arms. I'm standing right here. You're standing behind a corporation, behind a network, behind lawyers and producers. Tom shot back. You don't stand for anything except your own ego. This whole self-righteous act you do, pretending you're some kind of moral authority, it's pathetic. Says the guy who won't even state a political opinion, Stephen retorted. You know what that makes you, Tom? Spineless. You're so worried about your brand, your image, your precious career, that you won't take a stand on anything that matters. I take stands every day, Tom said, his voice rising. I just don't do it on television for applause. I don't need validation from strangers to know I'm doing the right thing. But you need this. You need the crowd, the cameras, the approval. Without it, you're nothing. The audience was completely silent now. Some people looked uncomfortable, others were leaning forward, completely absorbed in what was unfolding. You don't know me, Stephen said, but there was something different in his voice now, something defensive. I know exactly who you are, Tom said. You're every insecure bully I've ever met. You punch down and call it comedy. You attack people and call it journalism. You hide behind satire so you never have to be accountable for the damage you do. Damage? Stephen laughed, but it sounded forced. Oh, please. You're a millionaire actor. What damage could I possibly do to you? It's not about me, Tom said. It's about every guest who comes on this show thinking they're going to have a conversation, only to realize they've walked into an ambush. It's about the people in your audience who learn from watching you that cruelty is acceptable as long as it's entertaining. It's about the culture you're creating where tearing someone down is more valued than building them up. That's rich coming from someone who makes violent movies, Stephen countered. There you go again, Tom said, shaking his head. Deflecting. Changing the subject. You can't actually defend your behavior, so you attack mine. It's transparent, Stephen. Everyone can see it. The audience seems to be on my side, Stephen said, gesturing around the room. Are they? Tom asked, looking directly at the crowd. Or are they just uncomfortable and don't know what else to do? Look at them, Stephen. Really look at them. They're not laughing. They're not cheering. They're watching you bully someone and they're wondering if this is who you really are. Several people in the audience shifted in their seats. Some looked away. Tom had hit a nerve, not just with Stephen, but with everyone watching. You need to leave, Stephen said again, but there was less authority in his voice now. I will, Tom said. But first, I want to know why. Why did you bring me here just to attack me? What did I ever do to you? You didn't do anything, Stephen said, and for just a moment his mask slipped. That's the problem. You get to just exist in this bubble where nothing touches you. You don't have to take sides. You don't have to risk anything. Some of us actually care about what's happening in the world. So, this was punishment? Tom asked. You decided I needed to be taught a lesson? Who made you the teacher, Stephen? Who gave you that authority? I have a platform, Stephen said. I have a responsibility to use it. To use it to humiliate people? Tom asked. That's your responsibility? That's what you think this show should be? I think this show should hold people accountable, Stephen said. Accountable for what? Tom demanded. For not sharing your political views? For not performing the way you want me to perform? For being human instead of being your puppet? For being part of the problem? Stephen said, his voice getting louder. For sitting on the sidelines while the world burns. For making millions of dollars and contributing nothing meaningful to society. This. You don't know what I contribute, Tom said. You have no idea what I do with my time, my money, my energy. But you've decided in your infinite wisdom that because I don't broadcast it, it doesn't count. That's not journalism, Stephen. That's judgment. And you're not qualified to judge me. I'm not the only one judging you, Stephen said. Everyone watching is judging you right now. Let them, Tom said. I'd rather be judged for staying true to myself than praised for being a performing seal. You want me to dance for you, to say the right things, to check all the boxes that make you feel good about yourself. I won't do it. I refuse to play that game. 70 and VEV R5. Then you don't belong on this show, Stephen said flatly. Finally, something we agree on, Tom replied. I don't belong here. No one with any self-respect belongs here. This isn't a talk show anymore, Stephen. It's a tribunal, and you're the judge, jury, and executioner. Get out, Stephen said, his face red now. Get out of my theater. Your theater? Tom laughed, but there was no humor in it. This theater was here long before you, and it'll be here long after you're gone. You're just borrowing it. Don't forget that. Security, Stephen called out again, louder this time. Two security guards approached the stage, looking uncertain about what exactly they were supposed to do. Don't touch me, Tom said, holding up a hand. I'm leaving. I'm walking out of here on my own terms, not yours. Running away again, Stephen muttered, just loud enough for the microphones to pick up. Tom stopped once more. He looked at Stephen with something that might have been pity. You really don't get it, do you? Tom said quietly. Walking away from toxicity isn't running. It's self-preservation. It's knowing your worth. It's refusing to let someone else's issues become your problem. I feel sorry for you, Stephen. I really do. Because one day you're going to realize that all this anger, all this venom, it's not making the world better, it's just making you bitter. Save your psychoanalysis for your therapist, Stephen said, but his voice wavered slightly. I don't need a therapist to see what's happening here, Tom said. You're miserable. And you want everyone else to be miserable too. That's what this is really about. You can't stand seeing someone who doesn't play by your rules, who doesn't need your approval, who's actually at peace with themselves. It threatens you. You think you're at peace? Stephen asked, almost sneering. You think walking out of here makes you some kind of hero? I don't think I'm a hero, Tom said. I'm just a person who knows when enough is enough. And this, right here, is enough. He turned to walk away for the final time, and this time Stephen let him go. But just as Tom reached the edge of the stage, one of the producers rushed out from the wings. Wait, the producer said, holding up both hands. He was a middle-aged man in a suit, clearly panicked. Let's everyone just calm down for a second. I am calm, Tom said. I'm leaving. Tom, please, the producer said, stepping between him and the exit. I'm sure we can work this out. This is all just a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? Tom repeated. Did you not just watch what happened? Your host attacked me from the moment I sat down. Stephen was just doing his job? The producer said, glancing nervously at the cameras that were still rolling. Sometimes interviews get a little heated, but that's what makes good television. Good television? Tom said, his voice rising. Ambushing your guests and humiliating them for ratings? Nobody's trying to humiliate anyone, the producer said. Look, we're all professionals here. Let's take 5, cool off, and start fresh. Start fresh? Tom laughed. You think I'm going to sit back down and pretend the last 15 minutes didn't happen? Stephen, still by his desk, spoke up. See, this is what I'm talking about. You can't handle any criticism. You're proving my point right now. Your point? Tom turned to face him. Your point is that you're allowed to be disrespectful and call it journalism? That's not a point, Stephen. That's an excuse. I wasn't being disrespectful, Stephen said, but several people in the audience scoffed. His face darkened. I was asking legitimate questions. You weren't asking questions, Tom said, walking back toward the stage. You were making statements disguised as questions. Everything you said was designed to paint me in the worst light. That's not an interview. That's a hit piece. You're being paranoid, Stephen said. Am I? Tom asked. Then let me ask you something. Did you plan this? Did you sit with your writers and plan exactly how you were going to go after me tonight? Stephen didn't answer, and that silence said everything. You did, Tom said, nodding. You brought me here knowing you were going to attack me. You told your writers to dig up dirt, to create questions that would put me on the defensive. This was premeditated. That's how we prepare for every interview, the producer interjected. No, Tom said sharply. That's how you prepare for political interviews, for people you disagree with, for targets. I'm not a politician. I'm an actor promoting a film. There's no reason to treat me like an adversary unless you decided that's what you wanted. We treat all our guests the same, Stephen said, but he couldn't meet Tom's eyes. That's a lie, Tom said. I've seen this show. I've watched you interview people you like, people you agree with. You laugh with them, you give them softballs, you make them look good. But people you don't like, you tear them apart. Some people need to be held accountable, Stephen said. For what? Tom demanded. What exactly do I need to be held accountable for? Making movies you don't like? Not sharing your political opinions? For having influence and refusing to use it responsibly, Stephen said, conviction in his voice. For being in a position to make a difference and choosing not to. And who decides what making a difference looks like? Tom asked. You? You've appointed yourself the arbiter of what's responsible? Someone has to, Stephen said. No, Tom said firmly. We live in a free society where people are allowed different views, different approaches. You don't get to dictate what that looks like for everyone else. When you have a platform, you have a responsibility, Stephen insisted. I agree, Tom said. My responsibility is to tell honest stories, to portray complex characters. Your responsibility is to entertain and inform. But instead, you've decided your responsibility is to punish people who don't think like you. The audience was completely transfixed now. I don't punish anyone, Stephen said, his voice losing its edge. You're punishing me right now, Tom said. You invited me here under false pretenses, attacked me on national television, and when I defended myself, you tried to have me thrown out. If that's not punishment, what is it? It's holding you accountable, Stephen repeated, but it sounded hollow. For what? Tom asked again. What crime have I committed that requires this treatment? Stephen opened his mouth, closed it, then opened it again. You refuse to use your voice. I use my voice every day, Tom said. I just don't use it the way you want me to. And that's what this is really about. Control. You want everyone to fall in line, to repeat the same talking points. And when someone refuses, you can't handle it. That's not true, Stephen said, but he didn't sound sure. It is true, Tom said. You've surrounded yourself with people who agree with you, who validate every opinion you have, and when you encounter someone who doesn't fit into that box, you attack. This is ridiculous, Stephen said, looking at his producer. Are we still filming this? Yes, the producer said quietly. Well, turn it off, Stephen demanded. Turn the cameras off. No, Tom said loudly. Leave them on. Let people see this. Let them see what happens when the mask slips. You have no right to tell us what to do, Stephen said, his composure cracking. And you have no right to treat people the way you treated me tonight, Tom countered. But you did it because you thought you could get away with it. You thought I'd just sit there and take it. What narrative? Stephen asked, frustrated. This is just a talk show interview that went wrong. It went exactly how you planned it, Tom said. You wanted confrontation. You got it. You wanted me to lose my temper so you could look reasonable. But it backfired, didn't it? The producer stepped forward. Okay. I think we need to end this. Tom, I'm going to have to ask you to leave the premises. I've been trying to leave, Tom said. You're the ones who keep stopping me. You want me gone? Fine. He looked directly into the nearest camera. If you're watching this, don't let people treat you the way I was treated tonight. Don't let anyone tell you that you have to think a certain way or perform for their approval. You have a right to your own thoughts, your own beliefs, your own path. That's enough, Stephen said weakly. It's never enough for you, is it? Tom said. There's always one more question. One more accusation. One more test. But I'm done playing your game. He started walking toward the exit, and this time, no one tried to stop him. The producer stepped aside. The security guard stepped aside. Even Stephen just stood there, silent. But just before Tom disappeared backstage, he turned one last time. You know what the saddest part is? Tom said. You used to be good. You used to challenge power, who spoke truth. But somewhere along the way, you became the thing you used to fight against. You became the bully, and you don't even see it. Stephen didn't respond. He just stood there